Oh my god.
And we're live! Ladies and gentlemen, tonight what we are talking about is rental property managers. So when you are a landlord and you are employing a property manager, the biggest thing that we often talk about with owners is the difference in our fees. So whether it's 5%, 6%, 7%, and the differences in the industry out there. So these lovely ladies are going to break it down really easy for you tonight. And we're going to talk about percentages, or what you pay, what a landlord pays a real estate agent to manage their asset. Here we are.
Afternoon.
Okay.
Evening.
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 So, real estate agency principal,
Rental expert, leasing
rental
agent,
talks to all new landlords coming in. JB, she's in sales, but also very passionate about this topic, so she wanted to come on tonight and talk about it.
Most definitely I am.
Yeah. Okay, so ladies, we're talking about you're a landlord, so this is your life, Sienna.
Yep.
You're at the dining room table. You're talking to someone about them renting their property out. You're showing them the suite of services that our team will offer when they're out there. And people are always having a bit of an arm wrestle about the 5% or the 6% or the 7%.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people are good at their maths. But JB is.
So we'll break it down for you guys.
Yeah.
JB.
JB, over to you.
Alrighty, so at Novak, we do charge 6.6 and got the industry standard of 5.5. But I just want to break down what that looks like per annum, so every single year. So just starting off with 1%, obviously, 1%
I love this.
of 500
I love this.
is $5.
Yep.
1% of 600 is obviously 6, and the same goes for 7, so $7.
So just for a landlord to understand that. So the difference, that 1% difference on an agent's fee. So if an agent's out there saying, I'm going to do 7% or 6% or 5%, that $1 increment on that rent, can you show me that again?
Yeah, no problem.
She's chucked it on the ground already.
So yeah, here we go. So pretty much 1% on top of that fee for a property that's $500 per week is $5, and 1% extra on a property that's $600 is $6, and 1% on a $700 property is $7.
Over Sienna's face, that's it. Love it.
Okay.
Just give it here, guys. Give it here.
So it's actually per week.
We're
talking on a $500 a week rental or $600 a week. We're probably more $600 to $700, but it's $6. It's $6. So the difference between
a good agent and a crappy one is a cup of coffee.
I love that. Tell us more.
So with the next start, so this is per year.
Yep.
So if you're paying $5 a week for that, for the agency, that is an extra 1%. It's only $260 a year.
Wow.
Yes. And if it was $6 per week, it's $312 a year. And if it's $7 a week, that's $364. And that is just for a good agent. I mean, that's peanuts per year, just for a good agent.
When I see it like that. Yeah.
So Sienna will go more into depth of how much money you could be losing over just spending
The bleed.
$260 per year.
Okay. And before we go into this, I just want to put people in position, people like this. It's a decision that you make up front when you select your real estate property manager. If you select, and I must admit, this is a hard one for a landlord, because if you pick a property manager that's sharp, they're going to make you a fortune. We're going to talk about that. Sienna, you're going to talk about that in a sec. If you pick a property manager that's sloppy, because you're trying to save yourself how much? $260 over the year, or $300 or $400. We're going to prove the case that a sloppy property manager can cost you $5,000 or $10,000 a year in bleeding if the property is not managed effectively, properly, efficiently. So yeah, that's really interesting. It's really, really interesting.
So, shall we start to the scratch? So, when selecting a tenant, property managers and their team are verifying documentation and also their finances, ensuring they have employment details. This is really important when selecting a tenant. It can also cause the landlord to lose a lot of money if the tenant was a bad tenant. So, our property managers, they have 10 plus experience. They've been with us for 10 years plus, which also is a really good thing at Novak Properties. An average staff turnover is 4.5 years average. Our property managers have been here 10 plus with 15 plus of experience in real estate.
40 combined.
Yeah.
40 years combined.
So when I went to a Macquarie Bank function talking about the property managers in the industry, the dealer in the Macquarie Bank function, so they benchmark about 2,500 real estate agencies in Australia. In that benchmark, they said the churn of a property manager was about 35%. So what that means is when you go out there, Mr. and Mrs. Landlord, the odds are the property manager you're going to meet, there's a 30 or 40% chance they're not going to be there at the end of that year. There's a 60 or 70% chance that they're not going to be there at the end of 2 years. So in the life of renting a property out, I think that what you've mentioned, that tenure or how long they're going to be with you is great. And I think, again, going back to the magical numbers, if you're investing in a good property management company and a good property management firm, property manager, I think you're saving just a lot of money on that. The odds are better.
Sure.
What other things are out there that you find that a landlord can bleed on if they select a sloppy property manager?
Vacancy. When we get notified, property managers, when they get notified that the current tenant is going to vacate the premises, we have a great software called Property Tree that we have all our systems on it, and we make sure that property is live on the market 3 weeks beforehand, before the tenants move out. Agents can go in there, do open homes, start processing those applications. That current tenant, when they vacate, the next day we can get a new tenant in. That is not costing the landlord anything.
It's making them more money.
What did you call that? Sorry, that's
Vacancy.
vacancy. So I like that because when you bump in a tenant and you bump out an old tenant and you bump in a new tenant, if it's a sharp property manager, they'll make sure the vacancy is only a day or two, and they will start 3 weeks before they've got to make sure you're not minimising. So I think straight away, if you look at a rent being $500, $600 or $700 a week, 1 week, $700, $500. So just that alone, the difference on
It's
these
more
numbers.
you pay a
Yeah.
whole year.
It's the Novak difference, guys.
We're going to keep holding that up each time we go through each
That's
topic.
fine.
All right, Sienna, you're going to be that one reminding us. Sienna, what are the other things that a sloppy versus a sharp property manager will do?
Rent collection. So as I said beforehand, we got a top-notch software system. We get notified once a tenant receives a dishonoured payment. What I love about Novak Properties, we care about our tenants and we care about our landlords. We understand 3 years ago, COVID hit, and a lot of people were having difficulties with their finances, not being able to pay rent on time. So when we do get notified within that 24-hour period that the tenant has not paid their rent, we don't wait 14 days until we send them a termination notice and get them out of the property. We give them a call and we put that human touch to it.
And we work with them.
Yeah. We say, what's going on? How can we help? What should we let the owner know? What can the owner do? What can we do to help you get through this hard time?
A good property manager, I think, has empathy. And I think particularly in these challenging times, interest rates, cost of fuel, all these things going up, I think to understand their situation, to work through it, is what a sharp property manager does and a good property manager does.
Absolutely.
That alone is going to minimise rent loss.
Keeping the tenants happy, keeping the owner happy.
Next one.
Tribunal.
It's a big one.
So we manage about 2,500 properties within our agency. We are the most largest agency, sole trader, running for over 20 years. Tribunal. Let's say you get a sloppy agent that goes to tribunal.
Yes.
By selecting a bad tenant.
Yes.
You may have paid that 4% management fee, but you're going to be paying $150 an hour for your sloppy agent to come into tribunal.
To clean up their own mess. So I love, because if you look at, you said 2,500, it's 1,500, but I love what you said about the 1,500 because a figure that I'll give you guys, we would go to tribunal probably about once every 3 months across 1,500 properties. Now, in terms of where the industry standard is, if you don't have your paperwork correct, if you don't have if you can't see through corners like a proper race car driver, property manager, then if they get everything right, they cross all the T's, they dot all the I's early, there's known, and they sort everything out before it gets to a tribunal situation, it saves the landlords dollars. Now, if you probably don't know this, but as a landlord, you'll be expected to pay $150 per hour for your property manager to go and represent you in a tribunal situation. That can be $400, $600, $800 plus all the preparation that goes with it.
So,
say $1,000.
Yeah, so just paying that 6.6% up front, you're saving yourself.
If you've got someone good looking after you, and you had an example when we talked off air before about a landlord in French's Forest that Branca was protecting the asset for. They had an agent that didn't do the right thing. Big property, like it was a premium property, $2,500.
Yeah.
But what happened there?
Look, unfortunately, Bronca's not here with us today, but, a little bit of a backstory. We had a owner who came into our office needing help to get their tenants, to go to tribunal, represent her as tribunal. The owner did have a sloppy agent at the time that didn't really help at that time, was really slack in providing all the documentation, all the records regarding the tenancy. She came to us. Bronca went to tribunal.
She was like a knight in shining armor.
She won. She saved the owner, I'm not going to disclose, but she saved the owner a lot of money.
As in like a brand new car amount of money.
Mm.
So there was sloppy agent doing the best they could. Branca came along, cleaned up the mess. That is another example. Can you show us there?
Mm-hmm.
Again, guys, if you've just tuned in, we're talking about the difference in management fees. The 5% or the 6% or the 7%, that 1 percentile difference on a $500 a week rent is going to be about $260 a year.
And that 1% is going to determine whether or not you're going to get a beauty therapist that was 2 weeks, a beauty therapist 2 weeks, or a property manager that has been there for 10 years.
Some companies will put in a person that's hasn't had years of experience as a property manager to look after your asset, and you just want to be sure that it's not just anyone, it's someone who's got that experience. Any other bleeds or sloppy examples that you've got?
Rent collection, we've talked about that. Rent increases. Rent increases.
The cost of under renting your property.
Yeah. So we're located.
It's an invisible one.
Yeah. So since we have experienced property managers who have been working in the Northern Beaches particularly, they know their experience within the market. Now, when we're doing rent increases, we always ensure that we give a 60-day termination notice. And when I am talking to prospective landlords,
60 days increase notice.
Increase notice. When I am talking to prospective,
lucky I'm here.
When I am talking to prospective landlords, they do mention to me they've had bad experiences with property managers, not sending out that rent increase on time, leaving them short, basically.
And you know what? When we're talking short, if you say they under rented the property by $10 or $20 or $30, you could be talking that's $1,500 at the end of the year, right? $30, $1,500, $10, $500. So again, the cost of under renting your property, your asset, where it's not performing where it should be, the different, because you've chosen sloppy instead of sharp when you're choosing your agents, very important.
Yeah.
Any other ones you want to give us before we go?
We are available 24/7. We never sleep, Mark.
Yes.
We never sleep.
Yes.
Coming back to the COVID period, about 3 years ago, a lot of agents love to work from home.
Yep.
Not us.
No.
Our property managers had their face masks on with their desks in front of them, and they worked our ass off. We're available 24/7. We will come out at 10, 11 p.m. at night to just help you get through the front door if you are stuck.
Sometimes there's been like water leaks and stuff like that, agent not available, agent not around, and more damage can be caused to the property. And I love what you said about COVID, because we saw Branca, Cleo, Tina fighting for the landlord to protect their asset.
Yeah.
Well, I mean fighting, not with the tenant, but actually it was a battle. Those COVID times were really, really hard. People were scared.
Just doing open homes,
yeah,
doing routine inspections,
Getting out
just
there.
doing those basic little things throughout the tenancy can cost the owners so much money. So you think about it, you have a sloppy agent at home, he's not on top of it, not doing routine inspections, not requesting for those videos to be done. By the end, when they vacate that premises and you haven't noted that on the condition report, or it has not been noted throughout the duration of their tenancy, the owner is going to be up for the costs.
Thousands.
Yeah.
Carpet,
Oh,
cost of paint.
compared to, oh, you're loving that.
Big stuff broken.
Big stuff broken.
Big stuff broken.
Because our doors were open. There was not a day where those doors stayed closed through COVID. So again, sloppy or sharp, hardworking, sharp agent will always make you more money in your investment property. Are there any other examples? We got so
we got
many.
so many.
We got so many.
Okay, so strata, council, water rates.
Yep.
Many agents don't pay this on your behalf.
Let's push it off to the landlord.
They don't care about it. We do. We care.
It's all included in the fee. So again, for that money of $260 in the course of a
Just
year,
need to provide us a
and
copy
12
and we can
bills.
set you up.
doing it all.
Done. And then you'll receive an end of month statement or an owner's end of month financial year statement having those records on there as well.
So guys, if you've just tuned in, we're talking about the difference between real estate agents, the rental real estate agents paying your 5% or your 6% or your 7%. Some of the differences that you'll get in the spectrum of service there, it's massive. What are any things before we go you want to mention?
I always like how Lisa describes it as like, I've got $1 million property, you're leasing it out, I'm leaving you with $1 million cash essentially. Who am I giving it to? And what is it going to cost me?
That's huge.
And it's only going to cost you for this.
That. So I love that. It's the bag of cash.
Yeah.
When you are trusting your property that's worth $500,000 or $1 million, when you're trusting it to someone, you're trusting your $1 million with the property manager. And you're saying, look after my baby. And when I come back from my baby, I want it to be growing, healthy,
In the same piece.
in the same piece, and better than what I gave it to you at. So that's a fundamental difference because off air, JB was talking about, we were talking about these $1,000, $2,000, $1,000, and the difference. But I love what you said. Just to do, if you have to do the carpet after 5 years because of mismanagement, or if you have to do the paint after, you're talking $5-10 big ticket items.
And even that costs you in rent, you can't paint a whole place with tenants in it. They're also going to have to vacate in between leasing it. So that's months of worth of rent also gone.
Yeah.
So if you're doing carpet and paint, you lose a week doing or 2 weeks doing it, you're losing the rent.
Yeah, it has to be
as
vacant.
well as the cost.
It has to be vacant.
Massive.
Yeah.
Before we go, anything else?
Have a great day, guys. Have a great evening.
Have we got our little list? We nailed our list.
Quality of documentation. Let's talk
Oh,
about
I
this.
love that one.
So I did miss it when coming to selecting a tenant.
Yes.
We take pride at Novak Properties to ensuring that we have all the supporting documentation to provide to the owner.
Our sloppy agent always stuffs up the documentation.
Mhm.
We've taken leases over where they put an initial and not a Christian name. And if it ever goes to the tribunal, they just throw it out
They'll
because
kick
the
you
lease
out
is
and
wrong.
say goodbye.
It's true, eh?
So true.
What other documentation?
So we're talking about visas, ensuring that the visas are verified and correct and they're not fraud, ensuring their pay slips and also their bank statements, bank statement transactions. You can also be talking about water bills so they can let them know this is where I've been staying at this duration of time. Here's a water bill to back up that I've been staying there. If it doesn't have their first name on it, red flag. So just making sure all those documentations are verified and ensuring that all the references provided to us is correct.
And a great property manager, again, they can sniff it out a mile away.
Laser beam eyes.
That experience that they have, they can actually pick it out. So thank you. And can we just roll out with the difference between a 1% commission on 5, 6, or 7% on a $500 a week?
Yep.
$5 difference. It's $5 more.
$5.
And guess what? It's tax deductible.
Wow.
Boom. See everyone. Take
See
care.
ya.
See you guys.
Thanks, ladies. Cheers.